Slayter's been waiting forever for a breakout. Her third record and first major label drop, Worst Girl in America, might actually be that. This record's a sharp, funny, and emotional crash out inspired by her own life and upbringing in the Midwest. You guys know the drill. I'm gonna give my overall take on it before going track by track and assigning a score. So what were my overall thoughts? Slayter's always been on my radar. She was a prominent figure in hyperpop with her early SoundCloud drops, an underrated indie mixtape that dropped in the before times. Stan Twitter more or less kind of gave her a platform, and her song Daddy AF from that mixtape even made it into a Best Picture Oscar winner. I have to admit, though, that I lost touch with her after her debut Troubled Paradise, which underwhelmed me a little bit, but then she got me back with Starfucker, which eschewed her hyperpop for a bit of a more traditional pop sound. Worst Girl in America bodies all of these projects. I'd been concerned that signing to a major label like Columbia Records would dull her sound, but she's proven me wrong each turn of the way. The singles run was criminally good, from Beat Up Chanel's back in August of last year to Cannibalism to Crank and Dance. Each of these tracks and their videos showcase her hunger and artistry. The record resembles a playlist of long-lost smash hits on someone's iPod that has not been updated since maybe the 2010s, and I say that as a compliment. This was a homing missile on my gay pop stan self. It is a nuclear motherquake. There's traces of Madonna's Ray of Light on Gas Station, there's hints of Robin in some of these choruses, and obviously a lot of classic Britney Spears in there. Unknown Lovers has this early Lana Del Rey haze to its vocals, but I couldn't help but love how this project entirely was very early Kesha. Not necessarily the sound, but just the swagger, the daring nature to mix sounds and sing her heart out. Slayyter manages to do all of this while not losing her identity and voice in the mix. It's stunning how she commands each track like a veteran pop star who's been doing this forever. Saint Loser, which is one of my personal highlights, is just a perfect example of how layered she can make any track. This song rips on a sonic level, but stabs emotionally, covering this one-sided grudge with someone who she just needs to hate her back. It touches on her insecurities about coming from a place like St. Louis and being broke comparatively. She even manages to cleverly fit in the words recession indicator into a verse. Throughout this record, she draws from her own life, adding this rough, authentic texture to the track sonically and lyrically. The Gas Station's chorus, she revealed, was based on the time her dad did actually leave her at a gas station crying, but she recontextualizes it to fit the song about her ex. Many of the songs and tracks interweave and reference each other, almost like a running diary. Some of these lyrics shouldn't work, but I catch myself randomly yelling at times. I get so gay off tequila. Towards the end of the album, what emerges is this war between ego and true self. I'm actually kind of famous almost starts to feel like a cry for help right after Saint Loser. What is it to be liked marks this come down after a wild evening out. The closing track, Brittany Murphy, a tribute to the actress who died tragically young, makes it very clear that for all of the wild fun, there's pain behind all of that. Dark feelings, musings about whether or not she wants to be here or do any of this anymore. It's very easy for some to dismiss this record as a surface-level rave-ready magazine of surefire club smashes, but deeper listening reveals that Slayyter has intelligence, heart, and relentlessness. This one's a pop epic that I think I need more people to listen to this. It has a visual album to go along with it. It's clear that Slayyter wants this badly, and I think she deserves it. Per usual, before I give my final score, I'm going to talk about each track really briefly. Dance sets the tone perfectly, letting that instrumental hook you in, taking its time to let Slayyter count herself in. The track's production captures the lyric sense of apathy and dread. She's singing about this deadbeat loser coming up to her in the club. She just wants to dance, but the slowdown mid-track feels so 2000s before building up to this triumphant outro where she finally gets to flex her vocals a bit. Beat Up Chanel's is this hit of adrenaline. It's a maximalistic, bombastic track where she succumbs entirely to the desires of physical gratification. The instrumental is aggressive. It feels like road rage building up over those verses where she reiterates that she wants money, drugs, vintage bags, sex. The last chorus adds another wave of synths that gives it a more softer, euphoric, nostalgic feel. Almost like a flashback to the days of dreaming about hitting it big before making it. Cannibalism was one of the more interesting tracks to me. It leans into the rockier, crunchier parts of this record's production. The cannibalism that she's singing about seems to be about darker elements of herself, love and desperation. It's wrapped in this metaphor about this guy that she's singing about who's clearly a bad idea. This chorus has a very hypnotic feel to it where it feels like she's caught in this like tracking beam. She just can't leave it. Old Technology continues the guitar-heavy production, but it has a dirty drum sequence that's addictive. Her voice on this one is just everything to me. It evokes Gwen Stefani at times with the light and airy bite in between these guitar licks. If you ever heard the song Hella Good by No Doubt, it kind of feels like that in some ways. The lyrics declare this love for iPods and Tumblr blogs, and she's just ripping on those who are trying to copy and paste the vibe because she is the vibe. The last stretch of the instrumental actually blew out my speakers. Crank is a club classic hands down. This one is just absolute chaos. She rides the beat like a demon on the prowl. She's this woman possessed by the need to have the night of her life. The rapping on verse 2 is vulgar and ingenious down to a wicked Matthew McConaughey reference. The chorus I think is absolute perfection. I get so gay off that tequila. Absolutely iconic line. Something that I want t-shirts of. The distorted outro lets us really relish in the beat and energy before it dies down. Gas Station, in my opinion, is a career highlight. It's a very dreamy, synthy come down after those 5 ripped chord smash hits. The track relays this story about a doomed relationship where she's just willing to do anything to keep this love, but all he wants to do is just leave her at a gas station. The instrumental is a gem. It escalates as she grows more desperate. This crushing and electronic beat almost overtakes her soft, wispy vocals. The singing on here, like the way that she delivers and the inflections, reminded me quite a bit of Britney. It almost feels like a lost track of hers. Yes God immediately comes right after and just whips you back into the club with a dirty dance floor vibe. Bitch I'm a Star feels like a nod to her Starfucker era, but it also feels like a proper declaration. But the star of this track is the switch up at the end. It evokes Skrillex, but with a dose of total rage in there. Unknown Lovers is for the Tumblr girlies. I kept on trying to find out what album this track specifically reminded me of, and then I realized reading the lyrics that it's very Electra heart coded. I mean, the delivery is Lana Light, but the track itself is just such a gem. That chorus just hits in a way where it floats in your ear, and I think it's just so different from the rest of the record. The distortion on the vocals gives it a lot of bite, but the bridge, very Marina, very, very Marina. Like the spoken word stands still where she fills us in on who this man is compared to her. Very Electra Heart. Old Flings reminded me quite a bit of Robin, who I actually also reviewed this week as well. The way that the song is constructed towards that soaring chorus and the way she sings on that verse is very body talk coded. It feels very futuristic and nostalgic at the same time, and the crunch on the vocals makes it a little bit hard to follow along with what she's saying, but I think that's intentional because it feels ghostly. She's singing about something that has been passed on a long time ago. The warbling and warping add a mystique to this track. I'm Actually Kind of Famous starts with this spoken word section that kind of tees up the chorus very well. The electro clash delivery carries this self-hating swag of hers that just really fits her well. It felt like a very hella American take on Gaga's Shice in a way. In the track, she's taunting these people who keep on name dropping when she's the one who's actually famous at the club, and there's just something about the way that she yells out that title towards the end that showcases the vapidness of reaching that height and then having to deal with the worst people alive ever. Saint Loser dovetails that track so perfectly because it's just as confrontational, but this one is addressed towards the subject of a one-sided grudge, someone that she imagines looks down on her for coming from nowhere and being a nobody. She thinks that this girl probably thinks that she's trash down to the recession indicator pop music she makes. Slayyyter leaves it ambiguous whether or not this girl actually thinks about her, but she knows that she herself is obsessed with this rival of hers. The repetition of "I think about you" is the phantom of needing to know that this rival hates her back, because it is validation. What it's like to be liked, being after is a perfect chaser to that shot. This track is an honest cry for attention about how she needs validation. The bridge sees her change her mind about all of these things, and the outro is her crashing out about being a nobody. I really found it real when she was like crying about how she needs to get back lost time and how she can't get it because she's just trapped in the cycle of wanting to be liked. Someone pointed out that this track actually was supposed to be on Starfucker under a different title and a different sound, and it kind of feels like that, but it works perfectly here. Prayer is the spoken interlude, continuing a realization she just wants to comfort and understand and love and forgive, and the worst girl in America wants to change. Brittany Murphy is the perfect closer to this saga. I think it's a really cool slower track that introduces an acoustic sound that sharply contrasts the electric guitars that accented her rage and pain earlier on. In this track, she discusses self-harm and tributes the late and great Brittany Murphy, who died tragically young. The whole track discusses how people she imagines would eulogize her and remember her quite differently from who she actually was as a person. Verse 2 is heavy, but the bridge kind of brings us back into the light with her humor. The album ends on such a haunting question: do you know it's all I want? All in all, I thought this was a brilliant project. Worst Girl in America really marks Slayyter finding her voice while honoring many of her influences. It is emotional, it's personal, it's gritty, and it's a 9.2 out of 10 for me. And that's a wrap on my quick review of Slayyter's new album. Slayyter is amazing. I've been a fan of hers for years, so it's just fun getting to cover this. This is the second of 3 amazing releases that dropped this weekend: Robin, Her, and Ray, which I also will be covering, so stay tuned for that. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Worst Girl in America, what your favorite track was, how you feel about Slayyter as an artist. I can't wait to read all of that. A shout out to my members. Thank you so much for taking that extra step and supporting the channel, and a shout out to my subscribers. I love you guys. I will see you again really soon. I'm just busting these out at a clip.